Hi everybody, Lori here for Simon Says Stamp. Thank you so much for joining me today. I've got a fun teacher appreciation project to share with you featuring the new Appreciate You stamp set and coordinating die set. This came out in the latest Celebrate release with Simon Says Stamp, and I fell in love with that large apple image. I wanted to create a background with that apple repeatedly, so I have my mini MISTI here, a panel of Hammermill white cardstock. Any white cardstock will do, and I'm just going to get to stamping the apple. I'm using Simon Says Stamp Intense Black ink. This is the Copic friendly ink. This is normally the ink that I would use if I was coloring with Copics. And I am going to color the stem and the little leaves with Copics. So I did have that in mind, but I'm actually going to be blending the color on the apples. So I'm kind of, cocking some of the apples to the right, cocking some to the left, gonna stagger it. And this is a great card for the teachers in your life to tell them that they're awesome now that the school year is coming to an end. And okay, so I kind of got to move my panel around because it goes off the sides. I love how it goes off the sides. It kind of gives you that crop look. You're basically creating your own apple pattern paper. Okay, so once I got those all stamped, now here's the fun trick-a-rooney. I take a sheet of acetate and the apple from the coordinating die set, and I'm going to die cut that right into the acetate. What I'm doing here is like creating my own little custom stencil or mask. Now, I do have to do a little bit of masking with Post-it tape on the stem and the leaves, but it's nothing. You don't have to worry about it. And here's the other thing about the stencil. It's a little bit larger than the stamped image. So I was just going to roll with that and kind of go with that offset look, act like I meant it to be. And I do actually like the way that looks. It's not so perfectly perfect. It's the ink kind of bleeds outside and it gives you that, kind of modern offset look. So I'm starting with Pawsitively saturated inks in the shade Blush. And I'm just going for a classic, what would you call this? Like a classic gala lady. What's the apples? I don't know the names because I always buy Honey Crisp. That's my favorite. And then occasionally I buy Granny Smith. Great for apple pie. And they're good for juicing. My husband and I, about once a week, we try to do it more. We have a juicer and we'll throw in a Granny Smith apple, but it's mainly carrots and celery, and I throw in a good knob of ginger, and sometimes if I have spinach, whatever I've got, but then I usually use a Granny Smith apple for that. But I wanted each one of the apples to be slightly different. So here, this one has a combination of cheeky and celery. I guess this one is giving me Honey Crisp vibes, or Pink Lady. I could be getting my apples wrong. But then I thought, there is kind of a yellow lime apple. Isn't it Golden Delicious? I think I should have probably Googled all this before I was talking apples, like I know what I'm talking about. But you really can't go wrong. And there's no apple police out there. You just have fun with it. Heck, if you want to make rainbow apples, I would be here for that. But here I'm just kind of sticking to the pinks, reds, the greens, and the yellows. Here's just a very light, I don't know what you'd call it, but it's a light cheeky. Just a light cheeky. Can you see how the mask bleeds a little bit off the sides of the apple and it gives it that slightly offset look? And then I'll go in when I'm all done with the blending. Now I got to tell you about this one apple that I do up in the top right. I wanted something different, something to really bring the va-va-va-voom. So I pulled out this crimson ink from the Rainbow Splash. You want to talk about a punch in the face? That one will wake you up in the morning. Now, what would you call this? Is this a Red Delicious? What do you call this apple? The kind that's usually like so stinking shiny at the grocery store. And now I felt like I needed a little bit of that punch down at the bottom just to balance it out, So I just did a once over, just a little bit what was left on that brush down on the bottom. And then we got one last apple to go. And I'm keeping it light green. Again, I am keeping in mind the balance of color here. So we have a nice, balanced composition for the eye, And every once in a while I bring in a little bit of that lemonade. And that just, it's like a squeeze of lemon, just a squeeze of joy right there on the side of that green apple. Now all the apples are blended. I love this happy, cheery background. For the stems and the leaves, we're going to do Copic. And by the way, I cleaned my stencil. That's the nice thing about acetate. You can just wipe it down with your stamp chamois and then put it back in your die packaging or your stamp packaging and save it for next time if you want to do that technique again. Okay, so pulling out some Copic markers, I have E35 and E37. I sped this up a little bit because it's there's nothing, I'm not even really blending the colors here. I give a little once a do right there, and I don't even blend it out. You know what I mean? Forget about it. And then for the leaves, YG01, I just do a flat. And here's the thing about my YG01 is drier than the dickens. It needs to be re-inked. But here's the thing. Ain't nobody got time for that. I just don't want to take time. So I'm going to pull out the YG05, I believe, or 6. And I just give it a once a do right there down at the bottom. I don't blend it out. Forget about it. You can. I think that would be, if you want to blend it out, live your life. Okay. Gonna crop it down because I love a border when I pop this up on a white card base. So I cut off about 1/4 of an inch on all 4 sides. And then now for the sentiment, this is the Fancy Teacher. It has the word die, which I'm doing out of matte gold cardstock. And then you have the shadow, which I'm doing out of vellum. One of my favorite classic recipes for word dies, matte gold and vellum. It never does you wrong. And then there's a lot of times I like to stack it up. I'll do a few out of white and stack it up. But today, I'm not. And there's no right or wrong way to do it. You just live your best word die life. Okay? Here's the thing. These reverse tweezers are where it's at for placing things. And I don't always pull them out. But when I do, I realize it's all about the tools. And I also have this little Simon Says Stamp acrylic block, which I love to use for jobs like this. You just weight it down, let it marinate, and then that's what you do. That's basically the end of that story. Okay, gluing down the E and the R, trying to center this on the vellum. I am going to end up popping this up, but first I want to stamp a little sub-sentiment from that Appreciate You stamp set. There's lots of little sub-sentiments. This one here, I like it. It says, you make a difference. And I'm going to stamp that right underneath the teacher using black ink. Very simple. I use some foam tape from the Big Mama foam tape roll, which I love because it's thin. So it gives you the dimension, but not too much. I also use the Big Mama foam tape for the little slivers that I put behind this Fancy Teacher word die, centering that, locking it in place. And now here's the Jelly Roll white, white gel pen. And I like to use that for little mistakes, little boo-boos that you can't cover up with your sequins. A lot of times when I have a boo-boo, I try to cover it up with a sequin. But there are times when you just, you can't get it, so you use a white gel pen. Speaking of sequins, I use the new Starshine embellishment mix on this card, and I love that clear iridescent neutral bling. Teacher, you make a difference. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for joining me. Have a wonderful day, and I will see you next time.
Hi there, I'm Heidi, Simon's mama and founder at simonsaysstamp.com. Thank you so much for watching our video. If you like what you just saw, be sure to press the thumbs up and subscribe to see more great content.